Hello, and welcome to the Fit for All Phases podcast. My name is Heather Anderson. I'm certified personal trainer and certified nutrition coach. All right, so I know you probably scroll through social media all day and you see all these exercise programs. You see all these influencers peddling different workouts, different exercises, ways to program them. And I mean, I'm right there with you. It can become really confusing. So, in this episode, I want to kind of break down the confusion and we're going to focus on what the simple things are that we can do. Now, we all know exercise is very important for vitality, for independence, for health, and this is very important. So, when you're looking at programs or searching programs or looking at workouts and searching workouts, you have to look for a few good qualities in a good program. And a good program requires that you don't finish leaving exhausted. I mean, sweaty, panting, just want to go sit down for days, lay down for days. A good program should not make you injured. So it should have good form in place, and it should also be good for your goals and your physiology. All right. We are all built differently, and there's no one size fits all program. There are some requirements, basic requirements, but it still has to be modified oftentimes. A good program shouldn't leave you confused. You should clearly understand what you're working towards, what you need to do, how many sets, reps, and weights. Everything should be laid out there for you. And most importantly, you should be able to follow a program or a multitude of programs consistently for years. All right. So avoiding burnout, something that is still enjoyable but challenging, but something that you can stick to on a consistent basis. And like we mentioned before, if it's leaving you exhausted, if it's injuring you, if it's leaving you confused about what you're supposed to be doing, that's probably not a good program, and you're probably not going to do it consistently. So just toss those programs aside. All right. So in this episode, I want to focus on training because we've already talked about the who, the what, the when, and the how. And this episode focuses on how. How should we train? All right. But let's also not forget the why. Why should we be training? Why should we be doing resistance training? Number one, I mean, you've probably seen it in yourself, your parents, your grandparents. We are getting frail. We're getting weak. We're just not thriving. All right. You see it every day. Somebody's landed in the hospital because they're just not healthy. None of their systems are working right. So let's go on to the benefits of a good resistance training program. Number one, you build muscle. Okay, everybody needs muscle. It's attached to our bone. It's what moves us, right? But when we use our muscles and when we build our muscles, we are also building our bone. That's your skeleton. That's the thing that's holding you up. It's very important that you take care of your bones. You see every day, somebody getting a DEXA scan and finding out they have osteoporosis or osteopenia, which is the precursor to osteoporosis. That's not great. That's not good. That means you are getting frail. You are getting brittle. If someone were to push you over, you'd break. If you were to fall accidentally, you would break something. And sometimes the older you get, if you break something and it lands you in the hospital, sometimes you don't get out. All right. Or you stay in there for a lot longer than you would have. All right. So what's another good benefit of resistance training? Well, it builds your metabolism. I mean, your body is burning calories at rest, just either maintaining or growing muscle, right? In the recovery phase after you've done your exercise, after you've done your program. Resistance training also helps with function. We're going to talk about it later, but all the moves that we're going to discuss later are really important to function because these moves are things we do on a daily basis. We're always squatting, we're always pushing, we're always pulling, we're always hinging. They're basic fundamental movements that we do and we'll have to continue to do in order to live, in order to survive and thrive. And then we're also going to talk about the minimum effective dose because, a good thing is good, but too much of a good thing sometimes isn't good. All right. And there are a lot of type A personalities. And the reason why we have a lot of type A personalities is because culture and society has said, you got to grind, 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 grind. You got to go, 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 go. You got to earn, earn, earn. And we have been kind of just oriented to the grind. All right. But the grind can grind you down. That's why it's called the grind. And we have to avoid that. And one way to avoid the grind and resistance training is with a minimum effective dose. All right, so let's talk about what a good exercise program looks like. It should include a squat, some variation of a squat, and that's using both sides of your body or one. It should also contain a hinge, right? So, and that's one side of your body or both, right? It should also contain a push move because we're always pushing things. You're pushing your grocery cart, you're pushing your kid's stroller. It should also include a pull, any variation of a pull and push. All right. We're having to push things overhead. We're having to pull things from in front of us. We're having to pull things behind us. So we should always have some variation of those fundamental movements: squat, hinge, push, pull. All right. Those are all things that help us function better as we get older so we can remain fit for all phases. And that's the whole point of this podcast. All right. So now, as far as the amount of resistance training exercise you need, all right, the minimum effective dose, 2 to max 3 full body workouts per week. And these should be on non-consecutive days because you need recovery. We'll talk about that later in another episode. But that is more than enough, especially if in each of those sessions you include a squat, a hinge, a push, and a pull. Now, of course, you can hit those accessory muscles like biceps and triceps, most of which will be hit in those full body fundamental functional moves. But if you just hit those basics, you'll be all good to go. And if you just hit them 2 to 3 times a week, you'll be all good to go. All right. It's a minimum effective dose. So you don't have time. You have kids, you have parents, you have grandparents, you have jobs, you have professions that you are trying to thrive in. So you don't have time to be in the gym every single day. All right. But that takes me to the point of another way to program. Say you do have the luxury of being in the gym every single day. All right. I'm talking to retirees. I'm talking to self-employed people who can kind of make their own schedule somewhat. I mean, I'm self-employed as well. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But if you have the luxury or the ability to get into the gym every day, or at least 5 days a week, and taking the weekends off, you can also do a split program. But again, in that split program, you just need the fundamentals. You need squat, hinge, push, and pull. Then you can hit those accessory muscles like I talked about in the full body workouts. And something a split might look like is, all right, Monday, back and biceps. Tuesday, chest and triceps. Wednesday, you do your squats and your hinges. It's leg day, right? Or legs and abs day. And you just make sure that you hit each body part split throughout those 5 days. But again, you have to make sure that you are hitting all those fundamental movements of squat, hinge, push, and pull. When we're talking about a split routine, we're just talking about the days in which you do these squats, hinges, pushes, and pull movements. All right. So you don't have to spend hours in the gym either. All you need, whether you're doing a full body workout or you're doing a split, is you need some mobility work, something to prime the muscles, something to kind of warm you up. And walking on a treadmill is generally not enough because we want to prepare the body for the movements you are about to do. Now, we'll cover this in a later episode on mobility and priming and warming up, but you need to kind of mimic the moves that you're going to do with the weights without weight. All right. I have every single one of my clients do this before we work out, and they are much better prepared for the moves. They are not injured. You're less prone to injury if you do all these warm ups too. And it helps their recovery. It really does. So, again, you don't have to spend hours in the gym, but you do have to have some kind of program because a program is going to keep you consistent. If you just kind of leave it up to having no planning, no programming, and you just go into the gym, you're going to look at all the equipment, all the vast things that you can do, and you're going to get just flummoxed. You're not going to know where should you start, what should you be doing, how many reps, sets, and how much weight to do of all those things. All right. So it's good to have a good, solid program in place, a good, solid plan in place. I think it was Benjamin Franklin. He said, fail to plan, plan to fail. All right. So wise words. All right. Plus, you can kind of see it play out in your daily life. You don't get up in the morning and go, I have no idea what I'm doing today. No, everybody has some kind of calendar that tells them what they're doing. They got to pick up this. They have to make sure Timmy gets to that. They have to, go to a doctor's appointment. All right. So everybody has a plan, and plans help you implement things very well. And that includes resistance training. Okay. So one more thing I wanted to say about resistance training is it is infinite. Cardio doesn't give you that infinite possibility like resistance training does. You could probably, I'd love to see a large language model do this someday. Take every single exercise and variation on an exercise and compute how many total exercises for resistance training you can get. I'll tell you, that large language model will not be able to compute it all. It's infinite. I mean, and maybe even beyond infinite. There's not enough space on the interwebs to contain all the infinite possibilities with resistance training. And that's why I love it, because anybody can do it. There are so many variations on it. There are so many ways to program it. It's just really ideal. And again, going back to all the things that you get from resistance training, you're not frail, you're not weak, you've got more muscle, you have more bone, you have better metabolism, you're better functioning. And all this leads to is independence, right? You are probably not going to land yourself in a hospital bed for days upon days with broken bones, organs that no longer function. It is very important to get resistance training in because of all those wonderful factors that you get out of resistance training. So on the next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about reps, sets, and weights, right? And until then, I want you to have a great day. I want you to go out there and get to the gym, make a little plan of what you want to do when you get in there, and just get in there and do it well. All right. Until then, have a great day.